The Super Smash Bros. Series has a lot of moves and items that each of its 80 plus characters can use in the game. These all act as fantastic ways to represent the series the characters come from. What might just be the most iconic thing of both the moves and items category are the final smashes. When a character breaks the smash ball or their final smash meter fills up, the character will gain access to one big final attack which will almost always strongly sway the fight. Every character gets their own final smash as they're supposed to represent some big move from that character's home series. However, with there being over 80 characters, some final smashes are definitely better than others. So today, I'm going to take a look at every single final smash in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and rank them from worst to best. But uh-oh. Other people have done this video before. How am I gonna possibly justify making this video? Well, most people did tier lists instead of number rankings like I'm doing, and of the ones I saw, the people that did do number rankings did it before the DLC. Plus, my opinion is always correct. Additionally, this ranking isn't a power ranking. It's a ranking based on how much I like using the attack, how good I think the reference is, and of course, how it looks as a big final attack. The power can play a part in the ranking, as we'll see with some of the entries, it just won't be the main thing. With that said, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and let's jump right in to the worst final smash. I don't know how popular of an opinion this one will be, but there is one final smash that I hate infinitely more than any other in the entire game. It's not because it's weak, it is fairly usable. No, it's because of who it's attached to. For context, one of my favorite games of all time is The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. In this game, Link has access to several different masks that give him a plethora of different abilities. I think you all know where this is going. The worst final smash in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is 87, the Triforce Slash on Young Link. This is not only a clone final smash from another character, being Toon Link and Normal Link in the past two games, but it's super unfitting. Young Link has quite possibly the most obvious final smash out of the entire Zelda cast, the Fierce Deity's Mask. This turns Link into a super overpowered version of Adult Link, which makes any boss in the game super easy to defeat. It is so obvious that this should be his final smash, but no, they went with the Triforce Slash. I mean, they could have had Young Link at least transform into Fierce Deity Link while doing this, then it would have been somewhat okay. But no, this is easily the worst final smash of the game for me. For disgracing one of my favorite games, along with being a clone of a final smash most people already don't like, this is a super easy last place. To me, the competition is not even close. Alright, onto some final smashes I'm not that passionate about. 86, Progenitor God Ruptured Heaven. With the name as long as that, you'd think it'd be interesting, but no, it's literally just a PNG of Sothis flying behind Byleth as they hit the whip. I mean, at least Triforce Slash looks decent, this is genuinely ugly. 85, Grand Star. As most of us know by now, I have a strong hatred towards cringe here, but lucky for me, this is one time where most people will actually agree with me. This is based very loosely on the Grand Stars in Mario Galaxy, but it isn't actually something that they do. Rosalina just kinda spawns one over her head. So right off the bat, it's pretty uninspired, but that's not the only problem. This is our first one to be heavily affected by the gameplay. It's just way too easy to avoid this. It's not particularly powerful either, so this one is one of the least fun to use in the game. I mean, at least it looks okay. You know Byleth really messed up if even I can't justify putting it over Rosalina of all people. 84, Triforce Slash. Obviously this is going to be pretty low since it's not really based on anything at all. I personally don't hate it as much as Young Link since 1, Young Link was just added with the final smash for the first time here so they had a chance to make a new one, and 2, Fierce Deity is just too obvious. Still though, they definitely could have done something better for Toon Link, and I wouldn't blame you for hating this one even more. 83, Daisy Blossom. This one was pretty hard to place. The 2D artwork looks very nice, but the main problem for me is the fact that it makes no sense on Daisy. It's not even like the perfect fit for Peach reference-wise either, so it really feels out of place on Daisy. I do like the mechanics behind it though, which we will talk about a bit more when we get to Peach, so that saved it a little. 82, Puff Up. This is one of the most infamous bad final smashes, but because of that, I kinda like it now. It's funny how Jigglypuff just puffs up like the balloon she is, and while yeah, tier list wise this may be the literal worst in the game, the concept is funny enough to save it a little. 81, Torrential Roar. This one is just so boring and forgettable, which I guess makes it pretty fitting on Corrin, but yeah, not a fan of this one at all. 80, Hyper Rocket Barrel. This one feels super random, like they just took his up B and made it fast. At least in previous games you could control it, which was kinda cool, but here it just feels like a bunch of nonsense. Like, I'd be surprised if you managed to mess it up, so it's not as exciting to actually hit it. 79, Shadow Mario Paint. Let's start with the good first. The reference is pretty solid. Shadow Mario being Bowser Jr.'s first appearance makes him taking on this form fit pretty well. Additionally, the idea behind the final smash is unique, making it to where the deadly paint goes on screen. However, there are quite a few issues here. For one, while this makes perfect sense on on Jr., the other Koopalings have never used a Shadow Mario form, so it feels really out of place for them. Also, this is just super weak and easy to dodge, making it no fun to use pretty much at all. I think with some fine tuning, maybe letting the players actually draw the paint on themselves, this could be a much better one in the future. 78, Supersonic. This shares a lot with the previous one. First off, Supersonic was obviously going to be Sonic's final smash. There's nothing else that fits better, so this is a perfect choice. However, this is also stupidly weak and unfun to use. It's honestly really funny because in Smash 4, this may have been the best final smash as he had full control over Sonic. Here though, he just rushes back and forth and you can simply air dodge through him. This might be in contention for the weakest final smash. Jigglypuff is the only other real contender. 77, Jungle Rush. This is just a flurry of punches which feels really uninspired. It kinda looks cool though, so I'll give it credit there. 76, Dark Pit Staff. The reference here makes sense. The staff is what most people associate with Dark Pit. It just feels really strange to me. Like, why does it make the home run bat sound effect?
It's time!
That makes it feel super lazy. Plus it's not very flashy at all, and there's a final smash similar to this that I like much better, so yeah, this one is just kinda lame. 75, Final Edge. This feels really random. The other Mii's final smashes fit their archetypes, but this isn't what I'd think of when a sword fighter comes to mind. 74, Mario Finale. As the world's #1 Mario fan, this has always sort of bothered me. Like yeah, Mario using fire makes sense, and the animation all around does look really nice, but with a franchise as rich as Mario, there definitely could have been more done here. I mean, you can't tell me a Mario Odyssey reference with a T-Rex wouldn't have been so much cooler. Plus this final smash can also pretty often have people fall out of it. That's not really a deal breaker since it is still pretty easy to kill with it, but it is something to keep in mind. 73, Dr. Finale. This is the same as Mario but with pills. Since Doc doesn't have as much of a rich history, this gets a slight edge, though I do still think there was room for improving the concept. Controlling falling pills like in the actual series would have been really neat. 72, Sacred Arrow. And also while we're at it, 71, Burning Sword. We're starting to get to the point where the references all fit, so now it's mostly about the animations. Personally, I find these both to be a bit on the lamer side. They don't feel very special, and yeah, I know they're based on Xenoblade 2, but they still feel a bit basic. 70, Critical Hit, Roy. This is easily the worst take on this concept from the Fire Emblem cast. It doesn't have that really nice sound and feels honestly like a weaker Roy neutral B. Plus, while I was getting footage, I found out that you can get the first hit and have it miss the second hit, which is honestly kind of funny. 69, Omega Blitz. Well animated, but since it's a Mii fighter, it is still kind of basic. I can't really be upset about that though, that's kind of the point. 68 and 67, Grand Cross. These two both look okay, but at the same time sort of feel like the most generic sort of thing they could have done for the Belmonts. It doesn't help that it's literally the exact same thing for both characters. It's well animated though, so I'll give it that. 66, Team Star Fox, 65, Team Star Wolf, and 64, Team Star Fox. This has the same reusage problem as the last two, though this time it's 3 characters. This does get to place above them though, because the animations between the 3 are somewhat different. Plus the R-Wings being the final smash for all 3 of them does make sense. One other small detail I like is that there are actually some exclusive lines of dialogue that you can get if Fox is attacking Wolf,
This is the end for you, Wolf.
or if Wolf is attacking either Fox or Falco.
I've got you now, Starfox.
I'm always a fan of small details like that, so that got them a few extra points. 63, Aura Storm. Now something you all may not know about me is the fact that I really like the Mega Evolution gimmick in Pokemon, so much so that I completely stopped playing the games after they were cut. Why did they remove them? But that's why I'm happy Mega Evolution is still used in Smash, and this is one example of that. Sadly, this does have one major nitpick that severely hurts it. For some reason, if you move the beam, the opponents don't follow it. That means you can basically only ever get one person in it for the strong hit, which feels super unsatisfying. If they were to fix that, this final Smash would definitely be much better. 62, Awakening Aether. Okay, yeah, this one is really basic, but the camera angle change is honestly pretty cool looking. Not much of this one other than that, though. 61, Gigamac Rush. This is one of the final Smashes to get heavily hit from the transition between Smash 4 and Ultimate. Both have Mac transform into Gigamac, which is a good reference, but in Smash 4 you got to actually control Gigamac, which was really fun. Here it's basically the same as Donkey Kong's, which is just a bunch of punches. It fits better than Donkey Kong since Little Mac is a boxer, which did give it a few points, but still, I would have preferred the old Final Smash. 60, Triple Wolf. This one is really weird because Terry just literally does Power Dunk and Buster Wolf, 2 moves already in his moveset. With that being said, you'd think this would score much lower, right? Well, it would, had Terry's voice not been one of my favorites in the game. Yeah, him saying, is what saves this. I say it all the time. 59, Black Hole Laser. This is another Final Smash that just feels super random. It's at least memorable though, and a black hole is certainly powerful enough to count as a Final Smash. I also think the way Palutena flies in after it is also kind of funny. 58, Pair Up. Why is Chrom still here? Like, he's playable in the game now. While that does make this feel weird, it also makes me remember this a lot more. Plus, the animation on this one is really nice. One of my favorites send them up in the air to attack them Final Smashes. Still though, the Chrom thing is just a little too weird. 57, Wii Fit. Why did I not put this with the similar ones like Mario Finale? Well, for one, there's a lot less that could have been done for Wii Fit Trainer, and two, it's funnier. The barrage of yoga attacks is great, but what really sells this is the last one, which is just ginormous for literally no reason. I'm sure people will disagree, but I honestly do like this one. 56, Covering Fire. This is a weird one because I genuinely do not know how you could possibly mess up if you're trying. The concept is pretty cool, but it just feels way too easy to use. One of the very few to lose points for me for being better than it should be. 55, Octopus. This one has always been a pretty memorable one, and while it's not really flashy, that fits Mr. Game & Watch. It's perfectly weird for his character and a solid reference as well. 54, Iceberg. There wasn't really much they could do for the ice climber, so spawning in a giant iceberg is honestly pretty funny. Yeah, it's not the strongest Final Smash, but it's unique enough to where I give it a pass. Plus, you can also grab onto the Condor while using it, which is a cute little reference to the original game. 53, Great Ether. This one makes me kinda sad. Is it well animated? Yes, very much so. Does it fit? I would say so. So what's the problem? Well, everyone loves Ether. Me and my friends always have to scream it whenever it's used. While Ike does say Great Ether, he says it in the middle of the attack and doesn't say a word at the end. If he screamed Great Ether as he came crashing down to the stage, this would be one of my undeniable favorites, but as it is, it just feels like something is missing. 52, Darkness Illusion. This one is just pretty well animated. It's nothing too terribly special, but it works. 51, Arms Rush. While it is kinda cool to see so many ARMS characters, the animation here is honestly not that exciting and doesn't feel that terribly special. 50, Chain Attack. Once again, it's somewhat cool to see a bunch of characters come together, but it's still not that exciting to me. I gave this the edge though because apparently one of the characters here is a spoiler and I find that to be a bit comedic. 49, NES Zapper Posse. Okay, it may be a bit controversial to place this one so highly, but I think sending your opponents to a shootout is really funny. Also, not much else they could have done for Duck Hunt, so I like this one. 48 and 47, Volt Tackle. This is the signature move of the Pikachu family, so it being their Final Smash is a perfect fit. I will say it is a bit weird to use and it isn't too horribly flashy, but I still do like it enough. Oh, also Pichu damages himself, which yeah, makes sense, but that makes his version significantly worse power-wise. It's funny though, so he gets to be above Pikachu for me, cry about it. 46, Side Strike. This features another Mega Evolution, which as I already said, gives it some extra points. The attack itself though is super strange. Mewtwo will send out a massive projectile that'll freeze opponents in place for a moment before launching them away. My opinion on this one always fluctuates. It doesn't feel as grand as many other Final Smashes, but it is also kinda cool how eerie it is. I just kinda put it near the middle as a compromise. I would understand someone placing this one both really high or really low. 45, Final Blaster. This one does look really cool, and I love how
Kazuya Mishima
says this will be your burial ground. I just kinda wish this was one we could control rather than just being a cutscene. 44, Phazon Laser. 43, Full Blast. And 42, Guided Robo Beam. These all shoot out massive lasers across the entire screen that the player can control. These are some of the most fun Final Smashes to actually use in the entire game, which is what lands them up so highly. There are more like this later, but their references are much better, so they got to be higher up. Dark Samus using it does feel a bit uninspired considering they definitely could have done something different for it. This is perfect for Mii Gunner though, and honestly looks really nice, but it's not based on anything specifically. Rob's is also not based on anything, but it's the best of these three, as just in case Rob wasn't easy enough, he gets to fire projectiles that send people into the beam before he starts it. 41, Wario Man. Okay, first one, this one lost like a bajillion points for being so much worse than the Smash 4 version. I mean, it's just so much fun to mess around as Wario Man there with basically no end lag. If we do ignore the existence of a much better version though, yeah, this one is still really well done. I love the very colorful comic book aesthetic here, and Wario Man fits well as a Final Smash. I just really can't get over that old Final Smash. That would easily be top 10. 40, The Mighty Jinjonator. Not the flashiest cutscene in the game, but the reference does certainly make sense, and I enjoy it a decent amount. Funnily enough, my favorite thing about this Final Smash is the hitbox is significantly more vertical than the other cutscene ones. That means you're able to do things like hitting people from below the stage, which is pretty neat. 39, Shinku Hadoken and Shin Shoryuken. Ryu and Ken both have the gimmick of having two Final Smashes based on if you're far away or right next to your opponent. Of the two, I find Ryu's set to be much worse. They're just bigger versions of Ryu's Hadoken and Shoryuken. The Hadouken one is especially pretty lame, but I will give Ryu credit for the Shoryuken one as it's really well animated. The two Final Smash thing is really what brings Ryu up this high. 38. Ganon the Demon King. This is a perfectly fitting reference as it's Ganondorf's final boss form in Ocarina of Time. It's also really cool how the initial sword swipe acts as a spike, giving this some extra utility. The only reason I don't bring this up higher is because it sort of lacks any grand finale. He just sort of runs forward and that's it. Still certainly cool, I just think it could have been a bit better. 37. Sealing the Keyhole. The hitbox for this final smash is pretty crazy, just like Banjo's, with a giant keyhole after a blast of light. The animation is pretty cute as well, not the craziest thing in the world, but still a lot of fun. 36. Triple Finish. Unlike Pyra and Mithra, Pokemon Trainer only gets one final smash, which is a bit sad, but at least it's a pretty cool one. This has each of the Pokemon use a different one of their main moves. Squirtle uses Hydro Pump, Ivysaur uses Solar Beam, and Charizard uses Fire Blast. The three of them together does look pretty neat, and the text at the bottom referencing the Pokemon series was a nice touch as well. I may dearly miss Mega Charizard X, but I will certainly accept this final smash too. 35. Max Malicious Moonsault. This is a perfect reference being one of Incineroar's Z moves from Sun and Moon. On top of that, I also really like how well animated this is, especially the explosion at the end, which likely killed hundreds of people. 34. Sheikah Dance. This was one of the hardest ones for me to place. On the one hand, yeah, it's not really based on anything specific, which is sad. However, this is one of the coolest looking final smashes in the game. I mean, the effect that gets added on the screen while Sheik attacks perfectly fits her character and makes this a treat to look at. If this was purely based on animations, this would be way higher, but the reference thing is something I really can't ignore, so sadly it does have to be a bit lower. 33 and 32. Critical Hit. We saw Roy's take on this much earlier in the list, but I'm a much bigger fan of Martha and Lucina's take. The effect that comes on screen is really memorable, but the best part of it has to be the sound effect. No other final smash has a sound that impactful, so this one really sticks with you. It is a bit basic in the grand scheme of things, and this is one of the few that if you miss, you basically just die, but man, that sound effect is so good I can't help but like it. 31. Stampede. I love this reference. This is based on the iconic scene in the Melee opening with the Yoshi horde. I do feel like the impact could be a bit better, but yeah, this one is pretty great. Though I do honestly like his old one better based on the Yoshi's powers in Super Mario World. Still, this one is really good. 30. PD Piranha. This is an absolutely perfect and fantastic reference to the first boss of Subspace Emissary and Brawl. The way he moves around to catch people in his cages is quite a bit of fun, though if I did have to criticize this on one thing, it'd be that him falling off the edge is kinda lame. Very often he'll just walk off the edge and barely do any damage, which is a bit of a problem, but not too bad of one that it ruins this move. 29. Ancient Bow and Arrow. Is this kinda basic? Yeah, it is. However, it is really well done. It's kinda amazing how much better this one looks compared to Dark Pits. I mean, really, what were they thinking with that home run bat sound? This also does fit Breath of the Wild Link very well, as the ancient arrows are pretty much the most powerful weapon in the game. 28. Giga Slash. And 27. Mega Legends. These both have a similar concept, bringing other heroes or Mega Men from their series together for one big attack. I like these more than the other character ones we saw before, as these feel much more like a celebration of their entire series, and the animation on both is much more exciting. I like Mega Man just a slight bit more though, because the colorful beams all coming together looks a bit better than Hero's Final Slash. 26. Infernal Climax. I like how unique this final smash is, where you have to deal enough damage to the opponent under the effect of Witch Time before the actual attack comes out. The cutscene itself is just alright, but the unique mechanics did make me a fan. 25. Dreamtown Hall. And 24. Dream Home. This is either Isabelle or Villager hire Tom Nook to construct a town hall or home on the opponent. I just find this concept to be quite funny, and there are also a ton of small references with the furniture being thrown into the building. You can see stuff like the Triforce, KK Slider's picture, and even once it's all done, the building explodes, causing the Nooks to all go flying along with the opponent, which is really what makes this one. 23. Blue Falcon. Captain Falcon just runs you over. Nothing else to it, he just hits his opponent with his car at full speed. Yeah, this one is hilarious. 22. Blastomatic. Everything about this one is just fantastic. First off, the reference to the game over sequence of Donkey Kong 64 is absolutely perfect. I don't think they could have picked anything better. The way K. Rool laughs maniacally as he does it is also so perfect for his character. But I think my favorite little detail about this one has to be the fact that you can actually see the opponent really small on the Donkey Kong Island. That was a detail they didn't need to include, but it makes this final smash all the better. 21. Shipu Jinyu. Bad. Just like Ryu, Ken gets two different final smashes depending on how far away he is from the opponent when he uses it. Ken's far away one does not make any sense though. I mean, it's not a projectile, it's just a pillar of fire, so it wouldn't hit anyone far away. His second final smash though is really well animated. I love how it carries people off the stage and every hit of it feels powerful. I like it so much in fact that I thought it was worth placing it well above Ryu's set. 20. Omni Slash and Omni Slash version 5. Cloud is our final character to get 2 Final Smashes, though his case is far more interesting than Ryu and Ken. When Ultimate launched, he only had Omni Slash, which was a solid Final Smash, and I think everyone was pretty satisfied with it. However, when Sephiroth got added as DLC, they decided to change Cloud's Final Smash to Omni Slash version 5 when he uses the costumes based on the Advent Children movie. I love the idea of costume exclusive Final Smashes, and while he's the only one that has it like that right now, I could see them maybe doing this mechanic more in the future. While the 2 Final Smashes are pretty much functionally the exact same, Omni Slash version 5's animation is really cool looking, especially when the swords all come together at the end. Both are great, but the second one definitely convinced me to always play with Advent Children Cloud. 19. Zero Laser. Here's another beam Final Smash, but this one is the one that started it all, so I had to give it a huge boost. It's just as fun as the others to control. I also like how the fire on Samus's back actually acts as hitboxes, which is a nice touch. 18. Killer Whale. And for my favorite of the beam Final Smashes, we have the Inklings. They're at the top for a very simple reason. The attack changes colors based on the ult. Yeah, it's nothing major, but it is a good detail to fit in with Splatoon. Also, for some reason, the Inkling can move during this, which is weird since you're controlling both them and the Killer Whale itself, but it's not a bad thing. 17 and 16, PK Star Storm. This is one of the most iconic Final Smashes in the series. While it may not be the strongest, it's still one that I really like. The stars falling from the sky is a unique gimmick, and they can even be controlled. Smash Ultimate also added the detail of having some of Sans' and Lucas's party members join them during the move. Of the two, I like Lucas more, as his attack is a bit more focused, whereas Ness's is a bit more spread out, and also Lucas gets boned.
What the dog doing?
15. Secret Ninja Attack. I think of my top 15, this is the most unexpected choice to make it so high. I'm gonna admit to you all right now, this is a purely biased choice. Greninja is my favorite Pokemon, and Ash Greninja is one of my favorite things to come from the entire series, so seeing it in Smash makes me super happy. Plus, this just looks great too, having the moon loom over the attack. Most of these send up into the air Final Smashes get unique backdrops, but they're usually just some ominous clouds. They definitely work, but none are as distinct as the full moon over Greninja's Final Smash. Even if we can't agree on top 15, I'm sure you all can at least agree with me that it looks cool. 14. Zero Laser. Despite sharing its name with normal Samus's, this move functions completely differently. This time Samus flies off into the background where you have to then shoot the laser toward the screen. This is a really neat use of the Z-axis, and it's a lot of fun to take aim at your opponents. This also gets the boost of being the only beam attack like this, whereas normal Samus had the downside of a few other characters using a very similar attack. 13. Ultra Sword. Yeah, okay, this one may be a bit high, but I'm just happy the Ultra Sword got referenced and it fits really well. Also, a lot of people like Kirby's Brawl Final Smash more, and I honestly gotta disagree. The animation on this one is way more fun, plus Sword is one of the most iconic copy abilities, and it's nice for it to be in the game somehow. This Final Smash is also a lot of fun to combo into, and it's nice that it can hit other opponents after trapping one as well. 12. Peach Blossom. Like I said with the Daisy segment decades ago at this point, this is one of the most unique Final Smashes in the game. Instead of killing your opponent, the idea behind this one is that Peach puts her opponent to sleep and also spawns Peaches to heal herself. Also, I didn't know this, but apparently it deals damage as well, more if you use it close to your opponent. This is a super unique idea and pretty well executed. The 2D art is once again fantastic, and the song from Mario 3's Coin Heaven is a great touch as well. The only real problem is that it's not really based on something Peach is known for. Yeah, she can make people fall asleep in Mario RPG, but there's definitely better things they could have chosen. Still, I'm not gonna take off too much here. This one is pretty great. 11. Triforce of Wisdom. Yeah, this is the most overpowered Final Smash in the game. Every single soul on the planet knows that. You could be the entire stage lengths away and your opponent will still be able to get trapped in this. Basically, Zelda will take in any nearby opponents and seal them into the Triforce, which fits the character perfectly. I like it a lot more than the Light Arrow Zelda from Twilight Princess had anyway. This is one of the Final Smashes that will automatically KO opponents if they're over 100%, which I didn't really mention before since most Final Smashes will kill anyway at 100, but I thought I should say I like the addition. Obviously though, this will forever be known as the cheater Final Smash. I mean, look at this. 10. Poltergust GOO. This acts pretty much the exact same as Zelda's, however I think the reference here is even more perfect as Luigi uses the Poltergust from his main spin-off series Luigi's Mansion. I also think the sound that plays when the opponent gets shot out is funny here as well. 9. Plasma Scream. This is one of the most violent Final Smashes in the game. Really just throws the opponent on Samus's ship and blasts the entire thing. I love this cutscene and it feels so fitting for a character shown to be pretty violent even compared to some of the other villains in Smash. My favorite detail though was the fact that you can see Samus's ship crash off into the background after the move is done. They definitely didn't need to do that, but it's such a nice little touch. 8. DD Rush. After having a new Final Smash in every Smash game, I think they finally got the perfect one for him. Based off Mass DDD from Kirby Superstar Ultra, I just love how this is animated. Slamming the opponent against the cage wall only to slam them again with the hammer is perfect. I love everything about this one. 7. Lightning Chariot. Pit is also a character to get a new Final Smash every game, and in my opinion, this one is really fun. I'm not sure exactly how good the reference is since I haven't played the series myself, but actually using it is a lot of fun. It acts like the Dragoon item where you have to target the player you want to hit and then release the button right as you go over them. This is fairly challenging to do, but it is super worth it. The Dragoon is one of my absolute favorite items, so it's no surprise I'd like a Final Smash with similar mechanics. 6. End of Day. Alright, I may not like Olimar in Smash, like at all, but it's hard to deny that this is a fantastic Final Smash. This is a reference to the end of a Pikmin day where Olimar leaves the planet and any leftover Pikmin gets eaten by the surrounding animals. This was translated over perfectly to Smash and is very different from every other Final Smash as well. I also like how Olimar crash lands back into the stage and just falls out of the explosion. For a creative and perfectly executed reference, this is definitely one of the best Final Smashes. 5. Supernova. This is one of the most cinematic Final Smashes in the entire game, being taken from Safer Sephiroth's fight in Final Fantasy VII. Aside from just the cutscene itself, I also love the detail of the opponents being placed in the same spot as Cloud's party in that game. That all by itself would likely have brought this into the top 15, but what really sets this apart is the fact that it gives you a different random effect when used. This can be anything from just simple knockback to the lipstick and even a shield break. Imagine watching the entire planet explode and just falling asleep. So for its fantastic cinematic and randomness, this gets to make the top 5. 4. Super Pac-Man. I mean, this one is just perfect. This one has Pac-Man transform into his classic self to chomp on all the opponents as if they're ghosts. He moves really fast, making this a ton of fun to use, and the fact that he wraps around the screen like this actually makes sense because that's how the original Pac-Man worked. It's also really neat how the opponents turn into the ghost eyes when chomped, and you even get increasingly more points the more you hit. Yeah, I just love pretty much everything about this one, so it got to land pretty high. 3. House of Boom. Massive Minecraft bias incoming, but this is one of the funniest Final Smashes in the game. First off, we have the comically large piston, which shoots the opponent straight into the cinematic. I'm pretty sure this cutscene might have actually been filmed in Minecraft itself, which makes this whole thing feel like a classic Minecraft YouTube video. Inside the house itself, there are a bunch of zombies, TNT, and of course creepers. As the face of Minecraft, it's nice that they got featured prominently here. The best part though has to be the ending where Steve just comes out of nowhere to eat a steak in front of the camera as the opponent is brutally exploded behind him. Then after the cinematic is over, we can see Steve crouch spamming, which is just the icing on the cake. Had I not been a massive fan of Minecraft, I may not have liked this one as much as I do, but since it is one of my absolute favorite games, that makes me love this Final Smash to death. 2. Giga Bowser Punch. While I love Steve's Final Smash because Minecraft, Bowser's Final Smash is just undeniably cool for everyone. First off, he takes on the Giga Bowser form, which he's had since Melee and used in every Smash game since, which has also been his Final Smash since Brawl. However, like with Little Mac, Wario, and a few other characters, this lost the ability to let the player fully control him. While it was a detriment for every other character like that, this is the exception. Bowser now becomes way more massive than he was before and enters into the background. For this Final Smash, you have to aim Bowser's fists to violently punch your opponents. This one is just so much fun to pull off. I doubt anyone dislikes this Final Smash. It just feels so much more powerful than any other one in the game, which is what a Final Smash should be like. It will never get old punching people with this thing, and for that reason, it gets to land at number 2. However, it can't be number 1, because the Smash team made sure our next one was an undeniable first place. Number 1, All Out Attack. I think 99% of people have this Final Smash at number 1, and it's for very good reason. It's the best at almost everything. The reference is perfect as it's the big main attack in Persona 5 featuring Joker's party members. Persona 5 is also one of the best looking games there is style-wise, and this definitely doesn't disappoint. It's one of the most fun Final Smashes to look at. The ending too is fantastic, having the opponent in the background shooting out stars, while Joker strikes his iconic pose and becoming 2D. That all by itself is enough for it to easily make top 5, but what makes it undeniably first place? Well, remember back in Zelda's segment where I said her Final Smash would automatically KO when the opponent is at over 100%? Well, Joker's will do the same thing. However, if it's on the final stock of the game, the last shot of the Final Smash will become Joker's victory screen. This is the only Final Smash to function like this in the entire game, and it's just so cool. This is just like how the move works in Persona 5, and it's what puts this at number 1. I really hope more characters get details like this in the future, but since Joker is the only one right now, I am very comfortable saying that this is the best Final Smash in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. But anyways, that's it for this video. Do you hate King Dedede's Final Smash because he's not just randomly summoning in a bunch of Waddle Dees? Let me know in the comments. This video was a ton of fun for me to make because I really enjoyed looking through all the Final Smashes. I know people have already done videos similar to this, but I thought it would be fun to give my opinions on the topic anyway. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like because I plan to do a lot more rankings like this for the rest of 2023. But anyways, dry bones for Smash, and I'll see you guys next time.